So I really felt that we should always continue thanking God for the diversity that we have at Frampton. So today I'm going to be sharing about Exodus 2. And if we remember very well, Toko introduced us Exodus 1, and he literally took us through this book from the start. What a wonderful introduction he gave us. He showed us that Israelites had grown up in Egypt, and their numbers had risen, in that Pharaoh was a little bit worried, and he set up a situation where all the Hebrew boys were supposed to be killed. This was to reduce the numbers. Here we keep on welcoming everybody, which is very amazing. So the boys were to be killed. And one of the things that happened, even the midwives were informed that what you're supposed to do when you see a baby boy, kill the boy. That didn't work out. It did not. They didn't do that. They listened to God, and they did not take that action. Now, once everything didn't work out, what happened? The Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians that once you see any Hebrew boy being born, kill them, throw them into the Nile. Did that work? No, it didn't. And Toko continued to introduce to us divine. Who remembers what he introduced to us? Divine providence. He introduced to us divine providence. And here we see God's governance. Sometimes things happen to us and we even never realize what is going on. Many of us keep on asking ourselves, how did this happen? This is what we are going to see throughout the book of Exodus. And this is as well what we see in our lives. So today we are going to proceed with Exodus 2, which has been well read by Sonia, very well read, and Richard. So today we are going to be looking at Moses, who is being born. Just one child who was going to later on turn out to be the deliverer of the Israelites. So this is the little boy that we are going to be looking at today. Now, my prayer is that as we listen to this talk today, this speaks to you. And as we've read this passage, let it speak to you. As it happened in Moses' life, so let it happen to your life. And that is my humble prayer. So our theme today is God is purpose. Our plans, God is purpose. And I want to derive it mainly from okay, finally it works. Thank you. Thank you, Vito. So I want to derive this from Proverbs 19:21. We are saying, our plans, God is purpose. And it comes, you'd get it from a very special wisdom proverb, which says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it is the Lord's purpose that always prevails. Now, we always have dreams to motivate us. We have dreams to enable us grow. We have dreams to enable us even create. And our plans always get us moving. But you know what happens? God directs our steps, and ultimately, his purpose prevails in our life. And this is what we see. So today, we see God's providence at work, preserving Moses. And when Moses was born, literally, if you've listened clearly how this passage has been read, we'll break it into 3 sections. We'll see a section where Moses has been born. Then the second option, we'll see where Moses tries to deliver a Pharaoh brother, Hebrew brother. And then the third option, we see Moses being offered and offering help to Reuel's daughters at the well. And then definitely he ends up there and stays there for the time being when God is actually preparing him for a different mission. So these are the 3 sections that I want us to look through when you read this particular passage, Exodus 2. Now, we see, if we take Moses' birth, we see where the mom said that this child is fine. This child is fine. Now, if you read the King James Version, it will say he was goodly. When you read some other versions, you'll see he was beautiful, and then he hid him. When I was trying to interpret deep this particular bit, fine, beautiful, etc., what came to my mind was very simple. Just like you give birth to a child, and you say, wow, God has given me this child. I'm seeing something special in this child. Moses' mom must have seen something unique in Moses. A spirit must have spoken to Moses' mom that this child you're seeing today, this child you've given birth to is special. And there is something extraordinary that you're witnessing in this boy. Then the different actions of hiding the boy proceeded. So this is what we always see in life. Now, however, when the boy was possibly 3 months and he couldn't be hid anymore, what did the mom do? He had to put the son into a basket. He put the son into the basket and put him on the river Nile. Now, at this moment, I don't think there is any parent who do that. Recently, I think I was speaking to Mary, and she said, I would actually keep on beating the boy. Don't cry, keep quiet. I wouldn't put my boy onto the Nile, isn't it? You would possibly breastfeed this boy for as long as you can so that the boy doesn't cry. Because one thing here, you've put the boy onto the Nile. This boy, there are two situations that are going to happen. One situation will be, definitely the Egyptians are going to find this boy, and they will definitely kill him. Or if they don't, what will happen? Some species will be looking for lunch, and they will find him. Definitely they will have to get him, isn't it? Either the Egyptians will get him, or those simple species will be looking for lunch, and they'll get him. But our God is good. Our God is good, and surely we serve a greater God who will oversee all odds if he has a purpose for your life. This is what I see in this particular bit. So the situation of putting Moses was a situation that wasn't easy, putting him onto the Nile. It is a situation that wasn't going to be easy. However, I want us to see one simple thing here. We are at times faced with situations, and we are told, like in Romans 13:1-2, that we have to abide by the laws of those that have been placed in authority. However, Moses' mom did not listen to that. He tried to hide the boy, but the Bible tells us, Romans 13:1-2, that we have to abide by the authority of those put into authority. However, Moses' mom didn't do that. Now, in such a situation, what would Moses' mom have done? What I think is, she listened to God. And as Christians, sometimes we are going to face such different situations. My simple advice would be, if you're faced with such situations, what we are supposed to do is we have to make sure that if something does not abide by God's commands, okay, let's listen to what the Bible teaches us as Christians. If someone in authority is saying kill someone, why would you do something like that? No. Listen to what the Word of God says, and then take action onto that. Now we see that Moses' mom listened to God in such a situation. He did not abide by the Pharaoh. He listened to God. And because God was in action, Moses gets picked up by the daughter of Pharaoh. Another providence of God and the power of God at work here. What did Pharaoh's daughter say? They invited Moses' mom, and this is where we see really God further into action. He told Moses' mom, take this boy and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. I will pay you. To me, this was a very important highlight. Here, God's grace was surely at work because Moses' mom even got royal permission to look after the son. And not only that, but she was even going to be paid to look after her son. What an amazing God. God is at work in all situations. Now, when we look through in different situations, we read stories of Joseph, we read stories of David. We always see how God works, and we sometimes go through different situations. Now, these situations even happen to us today. They do happen to us today. Because you might be having a problem, and sometimes you feel like you're giving up. But I want to challenge you. If you trust and believe in God, God is always going to give a hand. You may not understand his time, but his time is always going to be perfect. We see how he promised Abraham the promised land. Abraham did not witness to some of these things, but the generation that followed did. Sometimes we may not see what is happening, but our generation comes, and because they are part of us, we'll always be in the same situation. Now, I have a lesson that I personally learned from this story. Just like Kate prayed my coming here. It was miraculous. Ending here at Frampton, it was God. One of the things that I've learned is that every day is a lesson to me when I'm at Frampton here. Every day is a lesson. However, it's as if I've spent here, I don't know how many years, but I'm actually just making 4 years in September. But sometimes I think, no, that can't be true. I have to recount. But it is God's plan. Now, for the last 2 years, out of my 3 and something, we always meet with Kevin every Thursday. You know, every Thursday we meet. But this has been a great lesson to my life. And I've seen it as a journey to prepare me, not for the now, but possibly for the future. And it has been a lesson. Now, I've seen this in the journey that we are reading, the story of Moses. Because Moses was prepared, was rescued, he went back, and was taken to the palace. What would you understand from this passage? Now, we read that when the child, in Exodus 10, when the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh, that is Moses' daughter, and he became a son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him from the water. What would you say about this? You would say Moses was adopted into the royal family. He had all the privileges that any child would get. Therefore, Moses received the best education any parent would ever wish for the child, the best education. And actually, Acts 7:22 confirms that to us, that Moses was educated in all wisdom of the Egyptians and was powerful in speech and action. Now, what we learn, and the lesson that I want us to get, is that when we go through certain situations, God is sometimes preparing us. Why would Moses be picked from the river? He goes to the palace, something that possibly wouldn't have happened. God was preparing Moses for his plan. And one of the things that we see is that Moses had a duty. What was Moses going to do? Moses was going to write books in the Bible. So he needed to learn how to read and write. Moses was to write books in the Bible, and he needed to read and write. God planned that. Now, Moses still needed organizational skills, even administrative skills, because God was going to ask him to organize more than 2 million people through the desert. That was all learned from the palace. Possibly, if he grew up with a mom, all those skills would not have been learned. Another situation, Moses needed leadership and command skills because he was going to spend almost 40 years in the desert with the people of different situations. So he needed to organize and lead them. Also, Moses needed military skills because he was to organize the Israel's army to capture the promised land. Now, this was a situation where Moses was being trained. And we see that Moses, all the 40 years of Moses were not wasted, but they were part of God's plan. And in many cases, we'll always go through situations and we think God has forgotten us. No. Sometimes it is going to be Moses' training. Imagine Moses staying in the palace, being trained. Now, I always sometimes read through the royal family here. I wouldn't imagine these two people going for military training. I wouldn't imagine that. Because this is a privilege, and their life is always okay. But Moses ends up into the palace, he gets such training. Prince Harry, Prince William, they've done training to prepare them for the future. They're prepared for the future. God gets Moses, he puts him in the palace. He learns all the skills he needs for the future. So sometimes we may go through situations when in actual sense what is happening, we are getting Moses' kind of training. Sometimes what you'll be getting will be Moses' training. It can be sickness. Yes, sometimes things are hard. It can be family situations, so much complicated situations. Sometimes what is going to happen is going to be Moses' training. And this is what I want us to get from this passage of today. This training, sometimes we don't want to know. We don't want to listen to God in such a situation. But one thing that I want us to give you is that God knows our plans. He has planned everything. And as Jeremiah says to us, "For I know the plans I have for you," declares our Lord, plans to prosper us and not to harm us, plans to give us hope and a future. No matter the situation you are going through, listen to your God. Listen to our Father. And if it is Moses' training, at the end of it all, you will overcome. And I want to conclude by saying that this Moses' training requires faith. It requires faith. And the way you're going to get this faith is by simply these few things, which you already know. But we have to put them into practice. If you remember, if you build your house on sand, it will not last in the middle of a storm. It will never. If you build it on a rock, you'll be in good position. So as Christians, the things that I want you to practically continue putting into practice is, number one, you have to pray. Talk to your God. Talk to your God anytime, everywhere. Number two, read your Bible. follow his teachings. Listen to him through his teachings. And number 3, don't take church for granted. Church is not this building. Church is us. Church is us. Fellowship with fellow believers. And number 4, take action. Take action. Serve and love others. And the last one, talk about this Jesus who has saved you. Talk about Jesus who has saved you. These are some of the things that if we practically put into action, even no matter a situation that you'll be going through, you will have faith that at the end of it all, God is going to deal with your situation. Now we are going to new wine. I want to give you a very simple task. If you can, get one person that you've possibly not even met during new wine, or during this summer, or even after summer, get one person from church here that you've possibly never met. Invite them for a meal, either at your home or anywhere of your choice, and just talk about 2 things: life and faith. Life and faith. You can do this at new wine, you can do this during summer, or you can even do it after. Somebody you've never, for example, had a deep discussion with. But this time, invite them for tea, coffee, a meal. It can be at new wine, it can be during this summer, or afterwards. Talk about 2 things: life, your life in other words, and then faith. This is my simple action that I'm requesting you to do. And if you'll continue implementing those 5 simple things, which are not simple because they'll help us to grow, you'll always, whenever you are faced situations, and non-believers ask you, why are you relaxed? You'll always simply say, I'm relaxed because I believe in a God who is my Father and who is in complete control. And I fully trust him. This is why I'm always calm. No matter any situation, I trust God. He's always in control of my life. If a situation comes, I know he's in control, and I'll always overcome. If I don't, it's again his plan. So this is what I invite you to do. May God bless you.